Welcome to Seven Trumpets Prepper Channel, and guys, welcome to another edition of the Hard Truth Show. Now, please bear with me. I'm doing some remodeling in the studio here in the office, adding a couple more shelves there for bookshelves and stuff. So, going to be doing a little remodeling here. So I want to say first off that yes, I know I'm doing this earlier than 8 o'clock, and I told y'all I was going to have a surprise for you. One of them is that I'm doing this earlier today. But I wanted to cover this stream that, life is suffering. And I wanted to cover this particular topic, waited to do it now for unleavened bread during the time of unleavened bread, because, Messiah's sacrifice, it's something I think people don't think deep enough about during this time. And shout out to everybody. Hope everybody had a good Passover last night. Enjoyed fellowship with Brother Akeem today. For unleavened bread. I appreciate that invite. I had a wonderful time fellowshipping. And now I'm back home and in the studio. And shalom to everybody. Yes, happy Passover to everybody that celebrated Passover and is celebrating unleavened bread this week. Guys, I'm going to go through some of the usual stuff and then a couple notes and stuff, and then we're going to get going on the show and go through today's presentation. And I hope that this is a help to everyone, because this is something we need to keep in the forefront of our mind, because I think everybody expects life to be perfect. And I think when people come to the truth, a lot of people's like, oh, hey, now that I'm a believer, my life should be perfect too. And it's like, bruh, it doesn't work like that. All right. So just FYI on that. So we'll get in that in just a minute. I'm going to try to go through all the usual notes and information. Also, guys, if you did not check out the stream last week, all right, we covered some flat earth with Brother West Blaze. You can check out in the Hard Truth Show playlist. I'll also have it in each video moving forward. So if you missed any streams, you can go back, check them out on the playlist and go down the line. But this should be Hard Truth stream number 24. And going to read the disclaimer. Information, content, guests, and their views do not necessarily reflect the views of this channel. Fair use is posted in the beginning of all content that I post on the live streams. Content's being shared for information, educational, and edification purposes and intents. If you'd like to reach out to me for content on this channel or a guest speaker, by all means, hit me up right there at seventrumpetsprepper@gmail.com. Guys, I've almost got the emails caught up that you have been sending in lately, and I will continue to work through those. Let me see here what else we've got. If you have a guest speakers topic that you won't cover, any of that stuff, by all means, hit me up. Like, share, and subscribe, and support the channel. If you'd like to financially support channel, you can do so in the link below. We won't be going over shout outs for channel affiliates today, because we are during Sabbath hours and it's not at sunset. So we'll just let that ride today. I would like to get to 100,000 subscribers this year, guys. So by all means, please share this with everyone so that we can grow this. And yeah, guys, it was a great stream. Someone said it was great info. Yeah, that last show was awesome. I want to continue to keep building on that. Next week, y'all willing, brother, oh my goodness, Troy Miller is going to be in the house. We're going to do a stream practice on that this week. Make sure everything's set to go. Y'all willing, and we're going to be talking about the Father's lunisolar scriptural biblical calendar next week. So that's hopefully going to be a fire discussion, just like we have Brother West in the building, and I plan to have him back too. So just FYI on that. And let's see, the last thing I need to cover is there a speaking event coming up. I'm going to keep sharing this, and I think they're also going to have me on the 21st to discuss something also, but I got to find out about that one. But this one's coming up, okay? United in Yah is going to be doing an online event, all right? And links in the video description below. I will be speaking at online for that event and everything, so make sure to check that out as well, okay? And lastly, there will be a prayer meetup, Georgia Guidestones, for the destruction of the New World Order, those Guidestones and everything else along with it that supports the New World Order, on 7/23/22, y'all willing. That is the plan for 10 a.m. that morning for the meetup, and I will get that information up, y'all willing, closer to that time coming. All right, guys. So with that said, I'm going to flip my notes. We are going to begin today's topic, and I hope this is a help and a barakah to those that are listening, because this is a serious topic. These are serious times, and we need to understand that the world is not what society and even church and everybody else tells us. Okay. First point I want to hit off tonight. I don't have this numbered. I just left the numbers out this week that I've been working on the stream throughout the week. And it's interesting. Some of the stuff that is in this presentation, we actually discussed at fellowship today too, over unleavened bread. So that was interesting. But this is from Time Magazine. Now, the date, I think, is kind of covered for the moment, but it was from the 5th month of 2013. And the me generation. This was the cover of Time Magazine that far back. Okay. And it says, millennials are lazy, entitled narcissists who still live with their parents. All right. And we have to understand that the generation in which we live now, today, is one of the most entitled, narcissistic, ungrateful, unrighteous bunch of people and time that we've ever lived in. Okay. Matter of fact, scripture goes on to speak that the time is coming up on the earth that never will be again. It never was, nor will be again. Okay. So just let that register in your mind. Okay. And I don't know what it's going to take, aside from the 7 trumpets of Revelation and the end days to completely pop off. I don't know what it's going to take, but we have got to realize that most people living in this world today, and I hate to say it, my generation, even from my generation young back, okay, like Gen Xers and, baby boomers, not so much, but millennials, Gen Z, these people do not get it. They are, like, I hate to say it, but I don't know any other way to label it other than just being a complete and utter waste of space up on the earth. I hate to say that, but this is the Hard Truth Show, okay? And I'm going to tell it to you just straight up how I see it, all right? That doesn't mean you have to agree with me, but I'm always going to just feed you the facts the best I can, drop these red pills where I can find them, and just leave it where it lies, all right? Now, this is a great quote, because actually no one owes you anything when it comes to people feeling like they're entitled. We're not owed anything. All right. And this is something the world has forgot or doesn't know that we've arrived at that point. And right here, absolutely great point. Somebody said we must walk in the narrow path that leads to life and endure to the end. Absolutely. That's what has to be done. Yeah. Here's another great point. Exactly why the flood happened. Yes. And keep in mind, that's what I'm saying, guys, is when I say that the scripture says that there's a time coming up on the earth which never was nor never will be again. Keep in mind, that means that we're looking at a situation worse than when the flood was. We're looking at situations worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, we are talking bad. And I'm going to do a little reminder review of just how bad the church house and Israel has done things in the past too, just so that you understand they're not exactly a guidepost to go off of either, especially in modern times neither. So we're going to get into some good stuff and the meat on the bone here in a minute. All right. But society is rarely ever right, okay? And in the due course of that, and I'm going to flip back and forth between society and religion and stuff like that, and it's just important that you know that I'm going back and forth today. I'm going to keep going back and forth on this stuff, but hitting with different points each time as I go back. But today, we need to understand that it is a memorial of the sacrifice Messiah made for the salvation of humanity. So that we may, through the set apart Ruach HaKodesh, keep the Father's commandments and hopefully have right to the tree of life in the day of the judgment on the last and great day at the trumpet sound. And in Yohanan, in John 14:5, it says, Thomas said unto him, Master, we know not whither thou goest, and how can we know the way? And Yahushua said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father but by me. If you had known me, you should have known my Father also, and from henceforth you know him because you have seen him. Pause. I want to explain something right here. People get this thing mixed up where Messiah, they think that Messiah is the Father and the Father's Messiah and this Trinity doctrine, all that stuff. If you understand that back in ancient times, if I sent my son to talk to another sovereign in another nation, he was to be received as if I was there speaking myself. Okay? So what you have to understand is Messiah was plainly telling people here that he was a representative. I mean, like, this is as layman terms as it can get. He went as a representative on behalf of the kingdom of the Most High Yah. So as if the Most High Yah was standing there speaking himself, okay? And Messiah carried out that task. So he's breaking this down right there. And at the same time, I want to also point out, like I said, that this is a day we should be remembering the memorial that he laid in the grave for the sacrifice of so that so many could have salvation. America took in 100,000 Ukrainians. You can't tell me that some of them are not affiliated with. Yeah, guys, if you look in the history of Ukraine, it has some sketchy history. Not to get off topic, but I just happened to see somebody's comment. I know they've been a subscriber for a long time. Shout out to you, JD Israel. I know you've been here for a long minute. I just want to say something about this, and I probably will be covering this in the future on a live stream. I'm going to let it rest for a minute, but there is a fire documentary out there about Ukraine's past. And in the past, when Nazi Germany moved into Ukraine, the Ukrainians actually signed up to become Nazis. And they not just only signed up to become Nazis, they formed whole SS battalions. Okay, they done some terrible stuff. So this whole support Ukraine thing, guys, just it's not in Luke's deck of cards right now. All right, so now I also pointed this out that, you know, Messiah is the way, truth, and life, because I'm going to actually take 2 points here from the Buddhism religion. And I want you to understand, I do not support it. I'm not telling you to go become a Buddhist. It's not for me. All right. It's not in line with the Torah. But what I want you to understand is what the pagans are doing, what the pagans actually even understand. It's sad that Christianity, so-called, can't even understand this point when idol worshiping pagans even at least get this points. Okay. Apparently there was 4 noble truths that Buddhism teaches. And people go back and forth, argue over this stuff. And that's not my intent. I don't even care about Buddhism. I just want you to understand, like, a mental concept that they have is that life has inevitable suffering. There is a cause to our suffering. There is an end to suffering. There is an end. The end to suffering is contained in the Eightfold Path. Now, like I said, this is tenets that they go by. I'm not encouraging you to become Buddhist. I want you to just bear with me a second. In one of the truths, the noble truths is, you know, birth is suffering, age is suffering, sickness is suffering, dissociation from love is suffering, not to get what you one wants is suffering. So at least they understand the tenets that life is suffering. And therefore the opposite of this is happiness, right? And Jordan Peterson actually was talking at a lecture, modern day philosopher. I look at him as a modern day philosopher. And he actually pointed this out in one of his lectures some time back. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about that as well, it was one of the first times that I was actually ran across this, and I thought, wow, ain't that messed up how that somebody that is completely in another culture, in another belief, can at least get that concept of that. But here in Western culture, in easy times and stuff, you know, these people don't get it. And sorry about the image there of the Buddha or whatever, guys. It was in with the slides. That's also why I put the disclaimer up front. I don't support idolatry either. Okay. But I said that to say this. Most people want to get the Joel Osteenism of Christianity. Okay. There's a special subset I call of Christianity is Osteenism, right? The Joel Osteenism. You've heard me talk on this many times if you followed me over the years. Is they want that prosperity gospel, feel good churchianity. All right. You want to go there. You want to feel good. You want to drop y'all $20 in the plate, give the man some paper and feel good about yourself. But at the end of the day, that doesn't get it done. And here's the deal. When that guy's driving a Bugatti, all right, and living in a $3 million house or $30 million house or whatever, lots of those people that's sitting there in those pews are struggling. They gave the last dollar they had just to get fed that line of garbage and to feel good about things, right? Now, what you got to understand, and I'm going to come back to church here, religion here in just a minute, and churchianity and Christianity in a minute. This is, like I said, this is going to be a revolving door today. But what you also have to understand is with that prosperity gospel, feel good nonsense, bullish, is that eventually trouble will come. You know, some of the people sitting in their pew right now are like, oh man, life's great. Life is great. And, you know, oh, everything's going good, but then trouble's going to come. And then the feel-good speeches is not going to get it done, okay? And we have to understand that suffering is due to sin, all right? It is due to the fall in the garden and dominion being handed from Adam over to Hashatan. and it becoming his dominion. And now Messiah coming and giving his sacrifice for us so that we may be one with serving the Father again and become back into that fellowship and love of the Father, keep the commands and have salvation, right? We are in a process of that dominion being given back to the Most High and to Messiah, right? And the Most High is in control of all things. He has dominion of it, but we have to let this free will situation play out. And anybody that used to be a member of Seventh-day Adventist Church, they've heard probably this lecture many times. We're watching the great controversy play out, right? And the world is a stage, all right? But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privately shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the master that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. We are living in a time when there is so many false prophets, false teachers, and it should not shock us, okay? Because suffering is something that the church doesn't want to touch. Suffering is something that most false teachers, false prophets, false pastors, they don't want to hit on. They don't want to go down this path, because the last thing you want to do is tell your constituents and your flock that, hey, life's not always going to be roses. It's going to be struggles, and you need to accept that. And false images too. That's right. They don't want to hear this. Okay. And so we as believers, especially those of us in the way and serving the Most High on trying to walk us out truth, we have to understand that the reality is that we're going to go through a lot of struggles in this life. You know, like Abraham, when I think it was in the book of Yasher, and it might also be contained in Genesis too, a short account of it. Just off the top of my head real quick. I should have put this slide in here as well. It's when Pharaoh inquired of Abraham how his life was. He explained to Pharaoh that, you know, pretty much it's been a hard ride, but, you know, here I am, right? And I'm just summarizing. That's not what he said, but he explained to Pharaoh the struggles he'd went through, right? And so, and Abraham was considered a friend of the Most High, right? So, I mean, like, this life is not peaches and cream, guys, all right? And that's my whole point and case to make to you today. Now, society is rarely ever right. If you look at the last 2 years of the stupid insanity that people caved and gave into, I mean, just rolled right dead over for, all right? I mean, wearing the face diapers, taking the snake poison, snake bite, I mean, like in a tube, you know what I'm talking about, without getting this show flagged and getting another strike on my channel. There's been a lot go on, okay? And society in front of our very eyes right now, if you look at scripture and you look at how society carries out, it should be a red flag. Do not go via this path, okay? But many people will worry about molding into society. I am so grateful that we are at the point we're at, because the struggle that is coming before us is going to separate the wheat from the tares, and you really don't have to worry much anymore figuring out who actually serves the Most High Yah or wants to do the right thing and who doesn't, because it is getting so crazy out here that it's getting so clear cut. It's night and day. You either do, you serve this master, excuse me, guys, or you serve that master. It's really cut and dry. Okay. Now, moving forward, we got to understand too, you know, the past is always indicative of the future, right? I say this many, many times. And the original situation, okay, in the garden, you know, everybody knows as Adam and Eve, all right, we'll just leave it at that at the moment, right, is that there was not death. There was peace. They walked around and, you know, lived a wonderful life. And then Hashatan deceived Eve, and then therefore Adam fell, and the rest is history contained in the Bible that you can read easily these days. But we have to understand that where we get to today stems from way back in the beginning, because suffering entered into this world, okay? Death entered into this world because a dominion, a kingdom was changed from its rightful heir, okay? Now, Messiah has come and gave his life for that restoration, okay? And we've got to always keep that in our mind, because people, I think, get caught up and they're like, how is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? You know, it's like, guys, every one of us going to go through struggles. I went through a lot of struggles, and I'm only 36. And I'm sure there'll be more to come in this life, okay? But, that builds faith, and faith builds hope, right? And trust in the Most High. But I think anytime that we get upset that there's suffering in our lives or the lives of a loved one or a friend or etc., we need to always hit the pause button, go back to the garden, and understand that our DNA has been what it is because that we are from a fallen nature. All right. And we need salvation, and then we need to keep the Father's commands so that we may have right to the tree of life again and have eternal life when the new kingdom comes. Okay. So, I think that's so important as that we move forward with this, the rest of this presentation, that baseline is established, because people get caught up in themselves, myself included, that woe is me, woe is me. Listen, folks, we're all going to go through stuff. Understand the stem of we always need to go to the root, the core root of what went on. Okay. So there we go. Now, as I said, and I want to just reiterate one more point, and actually, guys, give me just 1 second. I want to make sure I'm not missing my slides. All right. Is one last point I want to make is that as people get lost in themselves, especially society, and this image is to represent society, is that you have to understand that most of these people also are not only caught up in the world and what everyone else around them says and does, but most people are not rooted in the word. Like they don't even have the scripture as a guidepost. They don't have any desire to have the word of the Most High Yah as a guidepost. So that even further reiterates the importance of not letting these people have any iota in your life as a guide for when you're going through a struggle or suffering, because people don't understand the root cause of where the world's at this point in time, why we arrived here. They don't have no clue. All they are trying to do, most people are content to be born, live, work, and die in this construct. This construct is Satan's kingdom right now. Okay. Now you have to understand, if you want to leave Satan's kingdom and go over to Most High Yah's dominion and kingdom, that takes having faith in Messiah, keeping the commandments, walking this thing out. All right. There's a difference, because you got to understand is if you don't want to serve the Most High Yah, you are already serving Satan's construct, dominion, and kingdom. Okay. So, and thank you guys. I appreciate the comments. Is that I'm trying to be on point, that this is where we have arrived at. And we are in a special generation. Me, Brother Akeen, and Brother Joel is going to be on, y'all willing, the following stream after this one. When we're out in California, we're going to set it up, y'all willing, so that we can all three stream this and have this discussion that, many of us believers were right about what was coming. We were just off by a decade, because that's a very clear and aware point that we are living in the last generation. And the end of days, because there's the end days and then there's the literal end of days. And many of us are convinced at this point we are in the literal end of days. And that's so important, because further compounding on top of it, that society, if you're worried about what society is saying at this point in conjuncture, you are a lost cause. Okay. Because I don't give a flip what society has to say about anything anymore. They don't do nothing for me. They're not going to pay the price for me up on the day of judgment. When the many are resurrected from the dust of the earth, as it's described in Daniel, some to righteousness and some to everlasting damnation. The righteous will shine like the stars of the firmament, right? I don't care about what other people have to say at this point. Okay. You don't pay my bills. You don't cook my food. You're not my partner, my marital partner. My employer. You ain't gonna be there when I'm sick. I don't care about you. Okay, you're irrelevant. Now I want to see people come to salvation, but your opinion does not matter, because you don't have skin in the game in my life, right? So when it comes to suffering, these people, we don't need to look to them as a guidepost, because they don't have the answers. All right. And the answers are in the book. Suffering is here because of the sin that entered into this world. All right. Disobedience. All right. That's, and furthermore, going to the next slide, the church house today is like a cesspool of a place to go to, almost in my opinion, or pretty much in my opinion, period, because one of the biggest things they try to teach you is to put aside the 10 commandments and just focus on salvation. Literally, the assistant pastor at the church that I used to be a deacon at told me that before I went out the door. Like, that's their mindset. And in doing so, you are throwing out the baby with the bathwater, because having faith in Messiah empowers you, and accepting his sacrifice empowers you to keep the commandments, but yet you're throwing out the commandments. Now, I want to just do a sharp, quick reminder too, and we're going to bounce back and forth on this, is that here you see the Ashkenazi, all right, or the Khazar, JEWS. I'm going to use some paraphrases here so that this doesn't get flagged or anything. Is these aren't even the true Hebrew Israelites. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and throw that one out there too. Shout out to all the so-called black men out there that is descendants of the true Hebrew Israelites. Shout out to y'all today. Is that what you need to understand, is that neither of these entities is a guidepost for you. Matter of fact, I want to just hit pause for a second and also say this, though, that there is a lot of so-called camps and modern Hebrew Israelites and etc. too, that is not to be a guidepost either, because that they are following in the sins, some of them, of ancestors, all right? And pride, arrogance, disrespect, dishonor of the Most High. Let me just take you all through a walk down memory lane and show you what ancient Israel done when they were in apostasy, and Roman Catholic Church, that is also the mother of the great whore, mother of all the little harlot churches that's out here today. Let's take a walk down memory lane, shall we? The golden calf, all right? Yeah, that did not work out too well, right? All right, moving forward. And they caused their sons and daughters to be sacrificed, wasn't it, in the valley of Hinnom to Moloch? That didn't work out too well either. And then we've got our homeboy Jeroboam. And when you can't get one calf to be idolatry for everybody, let's just double down and have 2 golden calves. How did that work out? Okay. And moving forward, we have Christianity, Churchianity, right? Well, we've got the Spanish Inquisition. You know, if you don't want to be a false servant to the Most High, we'll just make you one by torture, right? And then we have more torture. And of course, my favorite of all time, the wheel. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, guys, most people might use these as a guidepost today, but I have not forgotten the past, you know, and society, the church, even ancient Israel at times as a whole was not the guidepost to go by. The Torah, the commandments, and faith in Messiah is the guidepost to go by. And the writings of the prophets and Moses and you know, the disciples that served or followed Messiah, like, yes, but as a whole, a collective, the Roman Catholic Church, great whore Babylon, ancient Israel, in apostasy many times, which ended up the Deuteronomy 28 curse coming upon them, scattered throughout the nations today. And here we have the mess that it is right now, and so many people in suffering because of the sins of ancestors. And then also now we have Christianity, which is causing so many people, souls, to be lost because that they are teaching prosperity gospel and all is well and don't worry about this, don't worry about that, when in reality it is absolutely, completely the opposite of that. All right. So if anybody's confused, we need to always trust the word and go to it whenever we're going through struggles and suffering, because everyone else, society, like I said, ancient Israel was in apostasy at times. They weren't a good guidepost to go by at times. I mean, think about Elijah and the false prophets that he had to deal with, and fire came down from heaven. I mean, like, guys, there's been many times where there's few people in the right path and many, many in the wrong path. All right. So if you're suffering and you see everybody else doing well out here, they're probably doing well because Satan doesn't need to try to cause them suffering, because he already has them, because they're already serving him. You know, like if I'm a king and you're my servant and you're serving me, why should I be mean to you? But if you're serving another master and you're still in my kingdom, I want to make you suffer. So if I serve the Most High Yah right now and I'm still stuck in Satan's dominion and kingdom right now, he's probably going to try to make me suffer. Okay. All right. So if any questions on that, we will move forward. Once again, imposters. That is not the true Hebrew Israelites. Now, this is one I want to go into. I call the Job factor. All right. Number one, I just want to send a shout out to Brother Job, because I'm going to tell you, that potsherd, when his wife said what she said to him about cursing the Most High, I'd probably been tempted to stab her with it. All right. I'm just being honest with you, because I am not going to curse the Most High. All right. And that woman just had complete lapse of judgment right there. All right. And Father, please forgive me, because I don't want to murder or hurt anyone, but I'm just telling you, like, there would have been some serious righteous indignation roll up inside of me. And you got to understand, though, Job is a poster child for everything he had going good. And then Satan, okay, as a teachable moment to Satan, all right? The Most High allowed this to be done, right? So that he could prove that Job was indeed his servant. And then Job was restored. Everything was given back to him. All is well. But the important thing to understand is who caused his suffering. Satan caused his suffering, right? And he wanted to break Job, right? But he didn't. But it's important to understand where suffering always emanates from. It is from Hasatan. And Job is a great example of that. And not only is Job a great example of that, but the people around him that seen his faith, society, everyone's over here throwing the man under the bus, disrespecting him. And the whole time, Job held on to the truth, right? Now, let's look at what the scripture says about that situation. Job 2:9 and 2:10. Then said his wife unto him, Dost thou still retain thy integrity? Curse Elohim and die. But he said unto her, Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. There plenty of foolish women in this generation, guys. I mean, oh my goodness. What shall we receive good at the hand of Elohim, and shall we not receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips. I'll tell you what, this generation today, that's another thing. Like I said, be careful with the ladies that you deal with, because a lot of them are worldly, and they will drop you off at the family courthouse pay window too, and put you on child support, alimony, clean you out, and then go serve Satan while being with another man and everything else. I'm telling you guys, like, you're going to get you a woman. I'm not like one of these people out here, MGTOW, hate women, stuff like that. I love my wife. But I'm telling you, you pick a good wife, because this world is full of women today that would straight up do you like that right there in a heartbeat and throw you clean under the bus. Now, James 5:11. Behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of Yahuwah, and the Yahuwah is very pitiful and tender mercy. Now, I'm going to tell you, Job was an example even in Messiah's day, and I think it is one of the greatest examples forward of suffering, because he endured. In Messiah's words, he that endureth the end, the same shall be saved, right? We need to be mindful of this, because this is a prime example. And keep in mind also, furthermore, when the 7 trumpets of Revelation start up, oh my goodness, the suffering that we're all going to probably go through. But man, the wicked's really going to suffer. Like, the righteous going to suffer some stuff, but the wicked is really going to suffer. All right. What I want to pause here, and before we go into this, all right, guys, sorry, I'm going to turn my page in just a second too. I've got a lot of notes today. Is that many people, when we talk about the crucifixion, when we talk about Messiah's suffering and sacrifice and death for the salvation of humanity, many people want to look at the cross of TAMMUZ, when we need to be looking at a stake, all right, because Messiah was put on a stake, all right, and I think that's an important thing to understand, because if you actually go into eSword and look at that, that's what that'll say also, a stake, if you actually look at the depth of the meaning of that word. All right, so I wanted to put this in here too to remind you. Now, this is just an example of somebody being put on a stake, right? And right there is from the book, The Cross in Tradition, History, and Art, published 1897. So I just wanted to show you this and everything, because that's something I think many people are not in tune, in touch, and knowledgeable of. All right, and but Messiah was beaten, slapped, crown of thorns, put on a stake. I mean, pierced. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is Messiah we're talking about, and they did that to him. Now, explain to me why that you think that you wouldn't go through anything, right? All right. Now let's move forward a little bit. Messiah said, remember the word that I have said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they kept my word, will keep yours also. So now this is where I drop off with a lot of people, even probably people in Torah community. I don't expect good things to always be around. Matter of fact, as this draws closer to the return of Messiah and the Master's kingdom being set before us, I expect things to get far worse in people's personal lives, in people's social lives, in people's fellowship lives, in people's marriages. Like, this is why I also did that stream recently. I think it was stream 22, 21, 22 that I did about the things that it may cost you for the kingdom. Like, guys, I'm building up on streams here. So you can go back and further digest this as I'm, things that I've said in the past to apply to this. But, Messiah plainly told and warned that, we're not above the master. Okay. So if the master goes through all these things, should we not expect to suffer and go through these things as well? Because now I'm going to tell you, if you want to take a dose of Joel Osteenism, I can't help you here any further. Okay. If you're sold on that doctrine, I cannot help you beyond this point today. Okay. So if you've watched this video to 37.11 minutes, I can't help you any further. All right. Now, if you don't believe in Joel Osteenism and the modern churchianity and all that stuff, prosperity gospel, then we can carry forward. Okay. Well, how did the apostles die? All right. And also, I just want to point out in this pic in the back, you see that the cross of Tammuz. I don't like to say pagan deities' names or anything that's ever been worshipped idolatry, right? So that is how many, the crucifixion is always portrayed. But in reality, we should be looking at stakes, okay, that they're put upon. Now, how did the apostles die? All right. Well, let's look at it. There's Andrew crucified on a traverse cross. Bartholomew flayed with knives. That is a horrible death, folks. James Zebedee, you got the beheaded, and then let's just go down the list. Bludgeoned and sawed in two. I believe it was also, I don't want to misquote, but I'm thinking that it was prophet Isaiah that they might have sawed in half too. I think there was a prophet that they also sawed in half as well. If somebody can confirm on that, just please post that in the comments. I'm pretty sure, I'm thinking it might have been Isaiah the prophet that they sawed in two. But anyway, terrible death. Matthew axed to death. Let's go on. We know about Peter being crucified upside down. Many people know about that. Philip hung from a pillar. John, all right, the Revelator, boiled in oil. He was the only one that died a natural death, but he even suffered. He suffered and then left on the Isle of Patmos, right? Then Thaddeus bludgeoned to death. Thomas speared to death, and Simon sawn in two. Now, I want to just ask you, are you content to die these deaths, right? Are you content to suffer that for the kingdom? Because these right here, these men believed hard enough and loved Messiah and the Most High enough that they died terrible gut-wrenching deaths for the truth. Now let's really let that marinate in your spirit, okay? Because I promise you, many people that's going to church this weekend for the Easter service, I guarantee their pastor ain't going to be up there probably having this heart-to-heart talk with you. All right? No, we're gonna have some glaze overs and get out of there so everybody can go eat their Easter ham, right? And chase the bunny around for eggs in the yard. But they ain't going to be probably talking about this stuff. This is like hardcore rated red pill truth right here. All right? So I just want everybody to take you a pause and ask yourself, am I willing to go that distance and sacrifice that much for standing up for the truth? Because I'm going to tell you what, I will be shocked, utterly shocked and dismayed if that we don't have struggles like this in the future again, because the past always repeats, right? There's nothing new under the sun, okay? We're dealing with the same entity that, Satan's kingdom has always been the same thing. You have deception, coercion, intimidation. Then you have under pain. And then if you don't do it under pain and duress, then there's death. And listen, I can write a book on Satan's kingdom, like a handbook. It's real simple, right? And some JD says, I'm going down shooting, brother. I think I think personally, I'm content going down shooting too. Like going out in a pile of brass, standing on my feet sounds like a great way to go. If I've got to go out, I'm gonna, like, if Lucas is added to the list, how did Lucas die? Like, it died in a pile of smoldering hot brass, shooting it out. Yeah, right here. I'm not going to read this comment. I just want everybody, or I'm not going to read it out loud because I don't want to say the deities' names, but that right there, important information right there. That's right. Oh, yeah, guys, here's a good one. This is probably one of the best comments of the day, too, right here, to add subject matter as well. Actually, both them comments right there were really good to add to the day. But right there, don't forget Stephen in the book of Acts. Yeah, and also keep in mind that when Stephen was stoned in the book of Acts, right, he was stoned for the point that at the point where you see everybody run up on him and stone him is right after he expressed about the Israel carrying that star in the desert, which is also goes right back to the deity Saturn, which also goes back to Saturday worship that most people worship on today, Gentile and Hebrew, and they just can't seem to cut that mess out. So it is just as same as all the way back to the golden calf. We are still experiencing that nonsense today. All right. Now, moving forward. This is a point that I want to make to everybody because it has always been, oh gosh, it's always been fresh on my mind from the time I was a young child, a teenager. Death has always been a reality to me. When my grandfather passed away suddenly from a brain aneurysm when I was just 7 years old, it really shook me to my core, the harsh reality that, like, it's not only final, at least in this age, but like this is a serious thing. Like it can come at any time, you know, and it is inevitable. Okay. Like, there's no getting around this, guys. Like, unless the clouds part in the heavens above and the domes roll back like a scroll, right? And the Most High's kingdom comes down and we're still breathing when it comes down and we get brought into the new kingdom and transfigured, right? Then we're all going to go via the way of the grave and be resurrected one day, okay? So you get two ways out of this thing, right? And hopefully we all die in a righteous state if we have to die ahead of time. And also, I don't want to be put 6 feet in the ground. I want to be put in a sepulcher. So when that trumpet sounds, I can get up out of my acrylic glass coffin, walk right out that door, open a door, and step out of my concrete building and be ready to be received into the kingdom, hopefully, right? But this is inevitable. Suffering is inevitable, and it eventually leads to death. From the time, something we need to look at is when we come into this world, okay? My daughter, she's going on 3 months old. You know, I was so grateful to see another life coming into this world, and I hope I have many more children, y'all will, and my quiver is full when I'm an old man gray of head. And I'm already starting to get the gray in the beard, so I got to get some more on the way too. But this is a situation that we all have to understand as we come into this world cold, naked, scared, afraid. And I promise you, folks, many of us are going to go out cold, naked, scared, and afraid. And especially if you end up, some of us, in the wrong nursing home, they probably going to office just taking care of us in a nursing home nowadays. Nursing homes getting crazy. And I'm just saying, the reality is this life, when we talk about suffering, you have to understand from the time we come into this world to the time we make that passing out of this world, there is some serious stuff we're going to go through. All right. It is inevitable. And you can either prepare for it, you can be hardened in your mind and tough to deal with it, or you can let this world chew you up and spit you out. It's just that simple. Now, so I also want to say this, is we're going to come in this world with nothing, and we are going to leave with nothing. So you better focus on building a marriage, leaving some children behind, leaving the truth ingrained in their minds about the kingdom, and worship the Most High, and have some wonderful times together with each other, because that's all we can take with us, folks. These memories. I want to take as many memories as I can, because these material things like these books, the bookshelf I'm about to add, all that stuff, it may burn up one day, it may pass away. It's just material things. It's a utility. It's nothing important. But your memories, your service to the Most High, your family, those things hold on to preciously throughout this life, because that's what's going to matter. There's this image, and I don't have it to share, and then I'm going to go on to the next point. But it has this woman, and it's like a cartoon drawing, and she's like, well, when I'm out of high school, I'm going to go and do this. And then she's like, well, when I'm out of college, I'm going to go do this. And then later she's like, when I'm CEO, I'm going to go do this. And then it shows her about to say the same thing again, and she's in the elderly nursing home about to die, and it just has the bubble and no wording. And so that's that's where our mind needs to understand, is that we have a finite amount of time, and we need to make good use of it. I want to just read a couple comments here, guys, real quick. I'm gonna take a pause just a second. People think that there's a rapture, but it's a deception and false doctrine. People don't know that there is two takes about the righteous and unrighteous, though. Yeah, I think what they were trying to say is there's two thought processes on that. And yeah, and the wicked will be removed and the righteous will inherit the earth. Somebody said, "Oh, how precious is your daughter. What a blessing. Nursing homes and life itself is so different than I ever dreamed. I'm astounded." Yeah, it's crazy stuff, guys. Crazy stuff. But moving forward, we need to understand that sometimes now we do bring suffering on ourselves. It's not like Satan's out here busy. He's pretty busy trying to wreck this world, all right? He don't need to do any overtime work, but sometimes we wreck ourselves, right? Job 5:17 says, "Behold, happy is the man whom Elohim corrected, therefore despise not the chastening of the Almighty." All right, well, let's talk about happiness, right? What is happiness? Well, if you look and you actually search happy or happiness in the Bible, you'll be surprised that it's actually in support of keeping the Father's commands. If we want to be happy, we just need to keep the Father's commandments. Who knew? Well, Proverbs 29:18 sure did. "Where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he." All right. John 13:16 and verse on through to verse 18 says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his master." Now we're touching back on some things here, right? "Neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If you know these things, happy are ye if ye do them." Right? What are we doing? We're going, what did Messiah say? "If you love me, keep my commandments," right? So we're doing the righteousness of keeping the commandments and having faith in him, right? "I speak not of you all. I know whom I have chosen, but that the scripture may be fulfilled. He that eateth bread with me hath lifted up his heel against me." And just a reminder also, suffering is going to come from people around us at times, because Messiah was betrayed by one of his very own disciples. He walked with him. He's seen the miracles. He's seen the love. He's seen the kingdom, and yet he still betrayed him. Okay? So you got to understand this, all right? As betrayals come from our own circles sometimes, all right? Now, John 13:19 and then 20 says, "Now I tell you before it come, that when it is come to pass, you may believe that I am he. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that receiveth whomsoever I send receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me." I want to point this out as well during this time of Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread and First Fruits coming up tomorrow, is that you've got to understand that Messiah, people will reject Messiah. But when they reject Messiah, they're rejecting the Father, because people be like, "Well, I'll just keep the Torah. I really don't want to fool with Messiah," right? Well, the problem is Messiah came as an emissary on behalf of the kingdom. He showed everybody what the Father was like, what to do, what to keep the commands, to worship the Father. He told people to worship the Father. I don't know. It's so clear to me. It's so clear cut. But many people are going to suffer now and in the last day because that they rejected Messiah. And it needs to be a good testimony in this day, especially during the time that he was in the grave for the sacrifice of humanity to save us all, right? And thank you so much that the Gentiles can be saved too through faith in Messiah. That it is so paramount that we understand that he did not just come for himself, right? He came on a specific mission to encourage us to keep the Father's commandments. All right. Like, I don't understand. Like, he come to restore all the things that were in error. It blows my mind, folks. But anyway, I want to share that verse with you as well. Now, Matthew 10:23, 24, and 25 says, "But when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another. For verily I say unto you, you shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his master. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his master. If they have called the master of the house," that detestable name there, "how much more shall they call them of his household?" All right. Now, and I want to pause right here. This is an excellent point. Somebody said right there, the real rapture is actually the resurrection of the righteous. There, it's on point right there, and I can ascribe to that too. But right here is an excellent one more point from the scripture, that we're not above the master, and that whatever he's went through, we can also expect to see that same kind of suffering in our lives as well, right? And sorry, guys, I accidentally put that slide in there twice. But let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of a man. It's interesting. I believe, Brother Akeen had this shirt on today. Shout out to you, brother, if you're watching the stream or later. I really love that shirt you had on today. But this right here is so important because, in summary, everything that I've tried to bring together, this, in the end of it all, this is what matters, folks, because also happiness stems from keeping the Father's commands. And you need to understand that the world, many people are never going to find peace in this life, and they're never going to find the truth. And that's sad. Many people have been deceived, and then they're deceiving others. And for those of us that are woke to the truth and trying to walk out the truth and love one another, we're still going to see suffering at times. It is inevitable. It is inevitable. You cannot tell me somebody live 100 years and they never went through struggling a time. It's going to happen. And sometimes it's manufactured from our own stupidity, as I've said. But nevertheless, during this time, whether they be good days, bad days, in between days, whatever the case may be, our duty is to fear the Most High Yah and keep his commandments and have faith upon his son's sacrifice. In the meantime, that should be our priorities. And 2 out of those 3 priorities, I just got echoed right there in Ecclesiastes 12:13. Also, don't have them in here at the moment, but Revelation 12:17, I believe it is, 14:12, and 22 and 14 all echo to keep the commandments. And only one of them is short of saying keep faith in Messiah. The other 2 also encourage you to keep faith in Messiah and keep the commandments. And that's those that make it to the right to the tree of life. So, I mean, guys, this is not rocket science in the least bit, okay? Now, I'm going to remove the slide, and I got one more thing to put up, is that right here, people ask, well, what do we do, Luke? Because there's just so much struggle in our lives. Well, what I will tell you is right here is I'm waiting on my 9 line. If you don't know what a 9 line is, that's an evac in military terms, okay? And I'm just waiting for that chariot to come down and receive me one day for the new kingdom, whether I be waiting alive or I be in the grave waiting on the resurrection. All right. And Brother West Blaze and me talked about I think we touched on that about the resurrection the other day, a couple different times. And you need to understand that we need to have that mentality right now to hold until relieved, because I cannot tell you that, every day is going to be a great and peaceful day. I can't, because it's not. And hold on just a second. I have a super chat. Fearmonger, you just donated a $100 bill, brother. I appreciate that so much. Guys, when you donate to the channel, I truly appreciate it. It is appreciated. Hope Most High Baruch you, brother. I really appreciate that. But the situation that we're in this life is our mentality. I really believe, and I say this as somebody that my mentality is that way, is we need to hold out till relieved, because we don't have another option. Those of us in the truth, if you've been awoken and you are in the way, okay, and you're trying to walk out the way, we have 2 options in this life, all right? And then I'm going to go through, if you guys want to stick around 5-10 minutes, guys, and hang out with you, is that we have 2 options in this life. You can either serve Hashatan's kingdom, and you see what that looks like right now. It is an absolute cluster mess. It is an epic fail every day. People are suffering. People are hungry. People are sick. People are dying. Everybody's trying to be sold a utopia, and you cannot have a utopia until you have nobody owing nobody nothing but to love them and have eternal life, and that is only available in the new kingdom. You're not going to see that in this life, right? And I'll tell you, the other option is to serve the Most High Yah, have faith in him and his son, and keep the commandments, and wait for the redemption that is coming, the consummation of this new age, when the New Jerusalem be here on earth, and people be resurrected and life will go forward. Then, you can have a utopia. And I subscribe to that age. I subscribe to that kingdom. And if that means suffering in this life, hey, who am I above Job? Who am I above the disciples? Who am I above Messiah? I count myself a speck of dust in the sand. Furthermore, I'm a Gentile that come to the truth. So then I feel like I'm even that much further removed, right? And I know the scripture says, don't let a eunuch say I'm dry tree, I think it is. And, those that will worship the Father will be brought to his house of prayer and offerings accepted, etc. But still, nevertheless, that's how I feel, right? And, I just don't understand. At the end of the day, there's only two kingdoms you can ascribe to. And if you do not ascribe to the Father's kingdom, by default, you ascribe to Satan's kingdom. All right. So these people, like I shared at the very beginning, the idolatrous Buddhist people, well, even though they don't ascribe to worship Satan, right? They still by default worship Satan because they don't worship the Most High Yah. All right. It is not rocket science. All right. I just look over and somebody said rocket science is Luciferian. There you go. So it might be some rocket science since they ain't worshiping the Father. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Looking up New Jerusalem. That's where it's at right there. The Illuminati wants my Israelite people dead, and also especially they wanted the Gentiles dead also. Yeah, let me tell you. Real quickly on that point right there, guys, that was the stream for the day. And absolutely, somebody said, thank you for this, brother. Hallelujah. Yeah, hallelujah. All praise the Most High. Absolutely, guys. I hope it's been a help to everybody. Yeah, love that one too right there. It's by default. That's right. People do not understand. Computer programs have a default setting when you get it. You have to make an adjustment to it, right? So I look at it. We had this discussion today for Feast of Unleavened Bread. One of the discussions we had today was that, the life's in the blood. Our DNA, it records everything about us, right? Is in our DNA, right? And so it'll be a witness against us in the last day, right, of judgment. And so the important thing to take away from that is that, with that being said, the rulers of this earth, the world, and this kingdom right now, they specifically know the ancestral Hebrew Israelites, and I'm sure they're targeted. And I'm sure that the Gentiles that serve the Most High, they know who we are, and many of us, and try to target us. And they don't want people awakened to the truth, because if people wake up to the truth, we are no longer going to, by default, fall into that kingdom. And when I say like the default settings on a computer program, it's like this. When we are born into this life, if we don't make a change at some point and follow Messiah and keep the commandments and have faith and worship the Father, right? Well, then by default, we will perish because we're already in the fallen state. But now if we change those settings in the computer, then when we die, y'all will, and we die in a righteous state. So when that computer program is resurrected, put into a new computer, a new body, right? And our consciousness is restored, we are back in action in the right kingdom at this point and alive forevermore, right? And so that was a great conversation we had today. And it just, I don't know I don't know any better context to put it into than that we are a electrical biomechanical machine with a consciousness. It's what separates us from AI too, is feelings and a good consciousness, right? And because AI at some point they're trying to give it consciousness, but it is a messed up, crazy situation, and we're getting into some weird realm where that you're going to see some twisted up stuff, and that's like this AI thing coming on. We're going to do a whole stream about AI. It's off the rocker. And I'm telling you, you best get your heart and mind ready for what's coming and figure out which kingdom you want to fall into. Because I promise you this, when you go to sleep and you sleep that long dirt nap, and then you're resurrected in the last and great day, you better hope you came up in the first resurrection, because if not, the barbecue pit is waiting you. Okay. And I'm just putting that as simple as I can say it. All right. So let me go back and scroll up some of the comments here. Boy, it is a bunch of comments in the comment section. Sorry, guys. I'm working on getting it up there. For some reason, Give me just a second, guys. The scroll bar, for some reason, the scroll bar is, I don't know why it's doing that. There we go. All right. Now, I'm back up where I can follow through the comments with everybody. All right. So somebody says, been listening to you for 4 years. I appreciate that, Fearmonger. I appreciate that, brother. I think it's next or week after next, we'll make a decade of being on here, guys. It's just unbelievable. Or actually, I think we might have crossed. It's the 1st of April or the 1st of May when I first signed up in 2012, I think it was. So we might be just past the decade. Say what somebody said here. People's talking about the rapture. Somebody said all the while doing 666 hand signs. I'm sure somebody said that toward me. Guys, a lot of people talk with their hands, and I have no interest in serving Satan's kingdom. So just FYI, Edward Cullen, let's go ahead and give that guy a shout out there. Let's give Edward a shout out there. When people come in here to shame me, I'm going to go ahead and give you publicity there and shame you right back. All right. All right. Moving on. And he said, are we supposed to take communion? Guys, I would not have no part in Roman Catholic Church. Just saying. Somebody said, I don't believe in the rapture either. But, oh, yeah, Fearmonger says, I don't believe in the rapture either. Scripture says in a few places that we will be beamed up at the last trumpet. There's that song, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, coming forward to carry me home. It raises the last days. That's right. I believe that when I started waking up to the truth that I became a targeted individual also. Camille, I believe that, there is a lot at work there. I really do. Because here's the thing, guys, like the internet and everything that's available today, like we can use this for good today, but they can also use that for evil too. So just saying, somebody said, I'm glad to hear you say that I expect a rapture event to happen, but it will be satanic, accomplished with holograms, fake news, crisis actors, earthquake machines from Tesla. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't have the alien thing in that as well. Let's see. Somebody said, what? Oh, if Upworld says, what if we don't die because of the time we live in and the truth we bear witness to? You know what? Many people will probably not see death, and they will probably live to be a witness during these last days. I would believe that. Quest for you, brother. Where did the halo concept come from? That actually come from Helios, I believe, particular deity. And then that got omega in the Roman Catholic Church religion and carried forward. But I'm pretty sure that's that. You can Google and double check me on that one, but I believe that's the particular false deity that came from. Somebody said, I was raised to be a Christian, but I'm learning that I've been raised to follow a fictional character. Look, there's a lot of things that Christianity teaches that whenever you get over into the meat of the scripture, you find out that you've been told a lot of lies. Keep waking them tribes. That's right. Yahushua told us to worship and praise Elohim alone, for the Almighty said he alone is our salvation. That's right, folks. Messiah plainly told us to worship the Most High. So simple. I'll hang out with you in just a few more minutes, but I just want to tell you, it is so nice during fellowship we had today to get together and worship together and talk. I hate that is the situation where so many of us lose that fellowship because, you come out of SUN Day Church, and then when you figure out SAT Day Church isn't the right thing anymore, then you lose a lot of people like I did with Seventh-day Adventist Church. And then you come into the Torah, and you might already be in Torah, and then you keep an SAT day, and then you figure out the Father, Son, and Soul scriptural calendar is not one and the same with Rome. Then you lose a lot of friends and people out, and it just it sucks not having fellowship. And guys, I'm telling you, like today, just being able to get with everybody for the feasts and fellowship, it is just so nice and it's so refreshing because we need that fellowship with one another and that iron sharpening iron because we are in such dark, perilous days. And I know a lot of people probably might start watching this video and be like, this is just so dark. This is so depressing. But it's actually, if you deeply analyze this, it's to harden your mind in a good way so that you understand that when you're going through these things, it's not in vain. It's also the state in which the world is in right now. You're not alone. And when people can start to understand that, it will absolutely help fortify your mind for the days and hours that are coming ahead because it's going to get flat crazy out here. No doubt about it. And somebody said, I just found your channel. I'm so glad I did. Absolutely. I hope this channel is a barakah to everybody. New subscriber. That's outstanding. Adrian, hold on just a second. I seen that comment. Adrian Kata says ancient aliens is preparing us to believe fallen angels, demons are aliens and are responsible for the rapture. Yeah, I mean, listen, something has got to go on in the near future where that they're going to inject this alien thing going on. And Cherie Mowry, I think I stopped the other day and I seen your email. I think you'd sent me 1 or 2 emails. You are the next email batch that I'm getting into. And so if I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what all's in that email, but now if you're looking to get together in fellowship, while me and Brother Joel is going to California, one of my top priorities when we're not on the job site is to figure out when we get home to get a fellowship building again or something sorted out that at least once a month we can all get together for that Sabbath fellowship. All right. And so I'm going to try to sort something out so that in East Tennessee, once a month, one Sabbath a month, at least everybody can come and gather together under one roof and fellowship together. We'll figure that out. Okay. Y'all willing. And so just bear with me with that. But and when I do, I will definitely post that and then I'll start sharing it on the streams too. So just please keep that in mind. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to read a few more here, and then I think I'm going to wrap this up. It says, it's getting worse and worse every day. My family thinks I'm crazy because of the truth. My mom said, where are you getting this information? I said, the Bible. So I am alone with the master. You're not alone. We're just all scattered because the mindset there is a lot of us have the same mindset. I call him that Yahweh or Yahweh. It's Paleo Hebrew. Yeah, and a lot of people argue that like the UA or WAH, UWAH. And it's like, guys, it's like in English, we're trying to say something that's in another language. It's like people get so caught up on the little small things. And it's like we are striving to honor him at this point, and it's like, I get what you're saying, brother. Absolutely. And I'm not going to knock somebody for that. Like you're making effort. Why do we call the Most High Yah another name, G-O-D, anyway? What did the false name called G-O-D originate in anyway? Yeah, oh, man. It actually comes from what I think I seen a presentation on it some time ago, is G-A-D is a false deity, and then it kind of got omega to G-O-D with time. And it's one of these things where I always keep tracing it back, guys. It'll always come into paganism. Weird you just mentioned aliens. My state has some of the most sightings in America when it comes to UFOs. Yeah, and they're going to ramp this stuff up, I think. I was literally typing about aliens in Discord, and you said the word in the background. Many are called, but few are chosen. Yes, sir. That's right, fearmonger. Yeah, Sherry, I'm glad to see it. Yeah, great. That's right, hon. We will get that squared up. Just bear with me. One of the biggest priorities for this year for me was get this stream going weekly because it gets the truth out there weekly in some capacity on some topic. The second priority is to get some mini documentary stuff took care of this year, which is the next one's going to be it's been on the back burner for a long minute, but it is the new moon. I think I'm going to try to get some people to contribute on this documentary is New Moon, the Key to the Creator's Calendar. And the other priority for the channel itself is to get back. I have a ton of prepping videos backlogged that I just got to get posted up here in public. But the other priority on top of all that is, like I said, I'm going to try to get this set up for 1 week a month fellowship for everybody. Even if we have to, like, you know what we may do is we may just rent Airbnb kind of building or house or something where everybody can just pile in for that day, and we'll just rotate it up. Or you know what, we can get creative with this, all right? Because people in ancient times met in each other's house to fellowship, right? And now we've gotten this brick and mortar thing, right? And having to go to some fancy high place and buildings. We will figure out a solution. And you know what? Airbnb might actually be the solution. I just thought about that. That might actually be the solution, and just rent a space once a month. No overhead. You're already in there. You got electricity. You got a food cook prep place for everybody. And that might be a real reasonable solution. All right, let's read the last few comments, guys. We're going to wrap that up. I've recently seen a dream where people are turning into alien type monsters and evil spirits revolving around them. Yep. Crazy stuff. Somebody said, but he will gather us all. I believe he is gathering us now. Yeah, I believe in mine, definitely gathering together those that love him. Somebody said, I would love to join. King is coming. Said, would love to join. Shalom, Luke. Hey, I'll get the info out there, guys. Right here. Hang on, let me pull this one up. Somebody said, actually, this helped me to refocus. Suffering for righteousness for a short time on earth, it's better than suffering for sin for eternity. Lots going on, guys. Lots going on in these comments. Let me see here. This is awesome. Airbnb. Yeah, Airbnb might be the solution, guys. No joke. Let's see. John MacArthur ripped on flat Earth and said Earth is spherical yesterday. He said we are in. Oh yeah. Listen, guys, when the firmament dome is cracked open above in the very near future, ain't gonna be a lot of people get their cosmology straight. But I'm afraid it's gonna be too little late for them, indeed. And last comment I'm gonna go through today, I think, is maybe one or two more. It says, is SAT day is truly the true seventh day Sabbath anyway? No, it's not. And guys, if you have not viewed, there is a documentary called Restoring the Creator's Calendar, and it's posted on Loud Cry Ministries channel. It's posted here on Seven Trumpets Prepper channel. Just Google or put in the YouTube search bar, Restoring the Creator's Calendar. It will come up. It's a great mini documentary. You can also get the calendar app at worldslastchance.com. It's free. Lot of good content. Somebody said, I learned a lot. I learned about Shabbat from you. Thank you, brother. Absolutely, guys. Glad I can be a help to you. So, guys, real quickly, I'm going to take down some stuff here while I'm getting ready to exit the stream. I just want to make sure and remind everybody that next week, you're welcome. I'll share anything I can, guys, to help you. But next week, y'all willing, Brother Troy Miller being here, we'll be talking about the Father's Solar Scriptural Biblical Calendar. I'm sure not to miss that. That should be really good. We had Brother Troy Miller down to speak at the Restoring the Foundations conference that me, my wife, and Brother Joel put together a couple years ago. So have him in the house to talk about that. Once again, happy Passover to everybody. Hope everybody had a great Passover, great day of unleavened bread, and tomorrow first fruits and the rest of the week of this feast. Guys, I just hope we all have a wonderful year ahead. I know these past couple years have been rough for a lot of us. There's been a lot of crazy stuff go on, and I'm sure there's probably more to come before it's over with. But guys, as always, till we see you again here at the Hard Truth Show and on Seven Trumpets Prepper channel again, I hope the Most High Yah Baruch you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, show you favor, and give you shalom, my friends, in Yahushua name.